Hello everyone and welcome to StudyTravel TV Live, a show of news, statistics and opinion. I'm Bethan Norris, Senior Editor of StudyTravel Magazine.
Hello everyone, I'm Nicola Hancock, Editor of StudyTravel Magazine. Before we get started, for the best viewing experience, please put the call-in side-by-side speaker view. You will see an icon in the top right corner where you can select the view.
We're delighted to welcome you all today to this episode of StudyTravel TV Live. In today's broadcast, we'll start with a news story, and then we'll be joined by our guests this week, Brunella Belluomini, Managing Director of Language Data Bank in Italy, and Jane Dancaster, Managing Director of Wimbledon School of English in the UK and Public Affairs Committee Member of English UK.
If you have any questions for the presenters or guest speakers or comments on the stories, please do post them in the chat box and we will read them out at the end. A big thank you to the sponsor of this episode, Londonist.
So let's take a look at our first story. The latest quarterly data from English UK for 2022 quarter 2 shows a continuing recovery for the UK's ELT sector, with growth of 181% compared with the same period of the previous year.
The increase represents a continuation of the trend of quarterly growth for English UK members through 2021 and into 2022, although the student weeks total remains short of pre-pandemic levels.
There was a welcome recovery for the junior sector, which only recorded 132 student weeks in 2021 Q2. In the most recent quarter, 11,070 weeks were delivered to junior students, growth of 8,286%.
Saudi Arabia remained the top source country in the second quarter of the year with 17,941 student weeks, more than double the second largest Brazil at 8,179 weeks. The top 5, which all accounted for a higher number of weeks than in 2021 Q1, was completed by Switzerland, Turkey and Italy.
So at this point, we'd like to introduce our guests, Jane and Brunella. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, hello.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to be here with you again.
Okay, let's start with Jane first. This all looks like good news for the UK language travel sector, particularly the beginning of the return of the junior sector, which made up 15% of student weeks delivered during Q2 of 2019. Saudi Arabia was added to the list of electronic visa waiver countries in June this year. How has this affected the nationality mix at your school, Jane, and what courses are Saudi students typically studying?
Well, Saudi Arabia has always been a very loyal partner of the UK in terms of education, English language and the universities. And we are, of course, always delighted that the Saudi government continues to sponsor students to come here. The electronic waiver is very welcome news for all of us. For us in Wimbledon, we had Saudi students throughout the pandemic. We had some actually live here in Wimbledon, and we had quite a large number of online students. So it's a good thing for us in Wimbledon. We've never been flooded with too many Saudi students. We've had 66 nationalities so far this year in school. We were just having a look at the stats ready for the Alfie workshop, and we had no more than 14% of any one nationality. So our top nationalities so far this year: Argentina, number 1, unusual; Switzerland, which is always one of our top; Italy, Japan, South Korea, and then Saudi Arabia. So it's good. We're delighted that Saudi remains strong and that our government is recognizing their contribution.
Great, thank you. Brunella, our most recent agency survey on Italy showed that Malta was the top destination for Italian students in 2021, knocking the UK off its usual top position. Yet the statistics above reveal that Italian students were the 5th largest nationality for UK language schools in Q2 this year. So how popular was the UK for Italian students this summer? And is this destination back to being top spot for Italians?
Well, I read that Malta was the top nationality for Italian students, not for my agency. We at Language Data Bank deliver services for individual juniors up to corporate clients. I was surprised to read these. I was not surprised to read this. I was surprised when at the beginning of the year, we received many inquiries for juniors. So that I confirm that the trend is that one. Going again, this year, to confirm this trend, we at Language Data Bank, we have made 3 medium-sized groups for United Kingdom. United Kingdom for us was the first nationality, followed by Ireland. As far as Malta, if I can attempt the answer for the success of this top nationality from Italy, I would say that Malta is the nearest country for Italy, is with cheap airfares and with a huge offer from many very good schools with very good programs and also less good programs, anyway, like everywhere and everywhere in the other countries. So,
okay.
Yes, I think these are the reasons why Malta was so successful this year. I would say that for me, UK still remains the top country, followed by Ireland for several reasons. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. We've heard a lot about language schools in a number of destinations not being able to meet demand this summer, with homestay and teacher shortages causing ongoing problems. What's your experience, Jane? And do you think this situation will right itself by 2023?
Well, there's no doubt, Bethan, that it's been a very tough year for everybody in the UK. So COVID was tough, and then we hoped that once COVID started to recede, things would improve a little, and they certainly did in terms of demand and student numbers, but we have then been faced by these very difficult conditions that you've been talking about. Talking to our friends in other countries, it's the same in Canada, Australia, in Ireland. It seems to be a worldwide phenomenon in the English language speaking destinations. So for us in Wimbledon, we were lucky that we had a lot of host families before COVID. So we had about 300 host families on our books. But we found, I think, as many people have found, that people have moved house, they have turned their spare bedroom into an office, they got out of the habit of having people in their home, they don't like having strangers around them as much as they used to, they're still a little bit uncomfortable, sort of lifestyle differences, sort of work-life balance, people are going away more, they don't want to be tied down, and so on and so forth. So it's certainly been a struggle, but in Wimbledon, we have been able to recruit a large number of very good new host families. And we believe that in the UK as a whole going forward, things should improve as people get more used again to hosting students. They see the pleasure to be gained from hosting a student. It's very different from Airbnb, and it gives you a lot more satisfaction, I think. And we've got some great hosts in Wimbledon, such as the ex-mayor of Wimbledon, who has done a wonderful video that we use in some of our ads on the joys that hosting brings. And I think it's really important to focus on that aspect of it. Teacher shortages, again, yes, I mean, it's been tough. Again, at Wimbledon, we were lucky. You know, we've got good, very experienced teachers, many of whom stayed with us throughout COVID, but some of ours, again, moved out of London, retired early, etc., etc. But for the moment, we are okay here in Wimbledon. We've still got a good, strong team of teachers. Going forward, it's difficult because, as I said, everyone is short of teachers. So it seems that people have left our industry. So we've got to work from the grassroots up and encourage people to become English language teachers, to remind them of why it's such a fabulous career, why we all do it. You get to travel, you experience other cultures. The people in the industry on the whole are lovely. It's a very warm, very welcoming industry, and it does give you a lot of freedom as well, which is what the younger generations want. So I'm feeling positive going forward.
Great, thank you. Brunella, how will inflation affect the language travel market in Italy next year, do you think?
Well, last year during a conversation with Scott Wade, we agreed that the 2023 would be the recovery year, with the 22 at 40%. For us at Language Data Bank, a small agency only for individuals, we reached the 40%, which was absolutely unforeseen for us. I can honestly not say anything for next year. When we had that conversation last year, it was after what I called the perfect storm, Brexit plus COVID. The war wasn't yet started. Now the storm becomes more and more perfect. And I honestly cannot foresee anything for next year, but I'm positive, and I want to be positive. And I'm sure that 23 will be the full recovery for us.
Okay, thank you. And Jane, the Accreditation UK Quality Assurance Scheme celebrated its 40th anniversary last weekend with a special event hosted by English UK and the British Council in Westminster in London. How important do you think this quality assurance scheme has been in enhancing the reputation of the UK's language teaching industry over the last 40 years?
Well, I was lucky enough to be at the event on Sunday, and we got our first British Council accreditation in 1983, so that was 39 years ago, and we still have the copy of the inspection report and all the reports since then. And as you know, I've been actively involved with the British Council in all sorts of things. So I think it's incredibly important. I can't stress enough how important it's been in raising the level of quality provision in the UK. When I look back at all the our old inspection reports and everything that we have done over the years, the inspections for us and for all our friends and colleagues in the industry provide us with a benchmark, they provide us with a focus, they provide us with very useful feedback on how we can improve and where we can improve. And over the years, every single recommendation that was given, and the reports used to be very long, very scripted. So with lots of good advice from the inspectors, that's helped us become the #1 language school in the UK, which, as you know, we are. We're joint #1 now, but according to our British Council inspection reports. We think it's the most rigorous inspection out of all the different inspections that occur in the different English language speaking countries. We certainly find it very tough here in Wimbledon. The inspectors come and live with us for 4 days and look at every single thing that we do. They go into every lesson. They see all the teachers. They visit a lot of the homestays, the accommodation. They speak to students. They speak to staff. I mean, they look at every single document we have. It really is a tough inspection. And we think that's important. We agree with that. We think it's a really good thing for our industry, and it ensures that any student coming to the UK and choosing a British Council accredited school will have a good experience here. So yes, we fly the flag for the inspections and the accreditation scheme here in Wimbledon.
Okay, great, thank you. So let's take a look at another story now. The Australian government has announced that it will increase post-study work rights for international students in areas of skills shortage and will maintain uncapped work rights during study until next year, while investments will be made to reduce visa waiting times.
In areas of verified skills shortages, post-study work rights for international undergraduate students will increase from 2 to 4 years, while selected master's degrees will increase from 3 to 5 years, and selected PhDs will rise from 4 to 6 years.
Meanwhile, the current setting of uncapped work rights for international students while they're studying will be retained until June 2023, Work limits for international students were lifted in January this year as an incentive for international students to come to Australia and to address labour shortages in certain industries.
Minister O'Neill said that work hours will be capped again from June next year, and some industry stakeholders have called for work rights to be set at 24 hours per week, a slight increase compared with the pre-pandemic setting of 20 hours per week.
So, Jane, international students engaged in university level study in the UK are currently allowed to work for up to 20 hours a week during term time, while short-term students at language schools cannot work at all. Do you think this announcement will have a significant effect on increasing student movement back to Australia and away from the UK?
Well, for us in the UK, the issue of work rights has been something we've been discussing with government for many, many years now, since they restricted the right of our students to work. So there's no doubt that it will be attractive to some students that they can benefit from these work rights in Australia. But it's not a new issue for us. It's not a new problem, the fact that they're not able to work in the UK. And behind the scenes, English UK are working very closely with the Home Office on this. Because of certain political activity in the UK, our Home Office discussions have been on hold for a while, but we have a new Prime Minister now and a new cabinet, and so we are already, we've got a discussion tomorrow about what we can bring back to the Home Office, because I've been involved in the discussions with the Home Office over the last 2 years on these and other issues, and they are open to discussion, shall I say. They're not as negative as they used to be years ago. So these things aren't quick, they take a long time. But in the UK, as in many other countries throughout the world, there are staff shortages in all industries. So hospitality, retail, etc., are really, really struggling to get staff. So we hope that this will encourage the Home Office to look more positively on students such as ours being allowed to work. In the meantime, the post-university 2-year right to work in the UK has had a very positive effect for us, both in attracting students to the UK as their study destination, but also that's helped us with our staff shortages here. So it's great in London that we can recruit these very bright graduates who are looking for work for their 2 years post-study.
Great. And Brunella, do you have a market for Australia in your agency and also in Italy in general? And do you think these regulation changes will encourage more Italians to consider Australia as a potential study destination?
Let me first agree with Jane. As you know, to talk about work abroad for Italian students, we would speak about for hours and days and days. Now, let's say about Australia. Australia was not the first destination for my agency, but it was a destination for students willing to study and then work there. And I have some older students who now live there and have established in Australia and work and are entrepreneurs in Australia. I would say, I can only say, the market for us at Language Data Bank is not big for Australia, but I say rules change. A major number of students from Italy can go to Australia for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. And going back to Jane again, I know that English UK has been involved in a campaign this year to expand the Youth Mobility Scheme, which currently allows young people between the ages of 18 and 30 from certain countries to work in the UK for up to 2 years. And I know that English UK want to include more nationalities in this scheme, including some of the UK's top EU student markets. Can you tell us how this is progressing?
So the response to that is actually similar to the work rights, in that it did seem to be progressing, and then again everything has been on hold for the last 3 to 4 months. But the Home Office are quite keen on expanding this scheme as well, and also at the moment there are different quotas for different countries, and so we're looking both at expanding the scheme to other countries and also changing the quota system. So they confirmed about 9 months ago that they were in favour of expanding the scheme, and they were looking at different models of expansion and different ways of negotiating with different countries in order to expand the scheme, because it's a bilateral scheme, so it needs to depend on the other country as well. So again, what's so frustrating for all of us is that the wheels of government in the UK, and I'm sure elsewhere, run very, very slowly. So the noises that we're getting are positive, but it could be several years before we actually get something concrete from this.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Let's move on to the next story. Turkish Agency Association UED is urging partner schools to provide translated terms and conditions for students after a number of cancellations led to some misunderstandings, with members saying that they will prioritise those institutions that provide such a service.
The association said that often the students or parents do not have sufficient language skills to read the agreements and often sign without fully understanding the cancellation and refund policies.
Unfortunately, we are getting feedback from our members that students blame consultancy firms for the penalties, cancellation fees, as they do not understand the agreement, UED said. Furthermore, students' complaints on social media will have a negative impact on both our members and education providers in the Turkish market, they added.
So, Jane, do you think this is a good idea? Do you translate your agent contracts at Wimbledon School of English? And do you think the pandemic has highlighted an issue that hasn't been very relevant previously?
Well, we don't translate at the moment our terms and conditions because they're very long. But it's not, we're not averse to looking at translating into certain languages. The question then is which languages, and whether people then feel discriminated against or left out if we haven't translated into their languages. For us in Wimbledon, I don't know that COVID would have highlighted this, because we had a sort of refund everybody scheme up until the day before they arrive under COVID. So actually we relaxed our terms and conditions considerably. So I think possibly some people were caught out just when COVID first hit, because different schools took a different approach to cancellations and refunds at that point. And I know there were difficulties in some countries, but with all of our agents, we work together on our terms and conditions, on making sure that our clients understand. Our agents, I know, take very great care as well to make sure that all their clients understand the agreements. But as I said, of course, we would be happy to look at translating certain parts of the document, perhaps a synopsis of the key points, for example. We would have no problem with that here in Wimbledon, but we would hope that it's not necessary as well to invoke these. We used to say we were the Marks and Spencer. Those of you in the UK, the Marks and Spencer of English language schools, Marks and Spencer were always well known for being very good at being flexible in their refund conditions.
Okay, thank you. And Brunella, what's your view as from the agency side? Would a standardised agent contract solve this issue, do you think?
I think that translations for, as suggested by UED, would help a lot, but we have never had this kind of problems. First of all, because we do not have thousands of students going at one time, but we always translate at least the most important points of the agreements to the clients, thus giving the client an extra service. So but I understand that it may help. Translation may help.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take one more story to finish. The winners of this year's StudyTravel Star Awards 2022 were announced this weekend during an exclusive dinner on Saturday, the 3rd of September at Grosvenor House in London, the first in-person awards ceremony since 2019.
The award ceremony took place during the StudyTravel Alpha UK In-Person Plus conference, which was attended by 902 industry professionals.
Overall, winners of 22 categories were announced during the event, which are voted for annually by industry partners. Caroline Ojeda, Director of Trinity Intercambio in Brazil, which won the StudyTravel Star New Agency category for companies less than 5 years old, said, "We are very conscious that we deal with people's dreams and we take that very seriously. We are survivors and now we are winners. All the effort was worth it. It really means a lot to us."
Brunella, you attended the awards this year. It was quite an emotional occasion after a gap of in-person events for 2 years. So tell us what it meant to you to be back in the company of old friends and colleagues and celebrating their achievements in this way.
First of all, I would like to say that I completely agree with what Carolina said about what it means for them and for all of us. Second, well, you said it was an emotional event, and it really was. It really was. I did not want to mention emotion. You know, my age, I might be more emotional than other, younger than me, but that was the feeling we had. It was a real emotion to see old friends, many of them friends, colleagues, and competitors. I met friends I hadn't met for years, and it was really I have always attended all the Alfie workshops, but this one had a different and an extra flavor. I do not add anything else, but I hope you understood.
Thank you. And Jane, you attended the evening reception of StudyTravel UK in London, while a colleague attended the weekend event on behalf of Wimbledon School of English. How did the conference go for your school this year? I personally felt a lot of excitement in the room, with agents and schools keen to put the hardship of the last 2 years behind them. Was that the same for you?
Absolutely, yes. I was very sorry not to join the whole event, but I think, as some of you know, we had a family wedding on the Saturday. So sometimes there are some things that even for Alfie we can't not go to. But I loved the Friday evening event. I was so excited to see everybody again. I'd been to a few of the smaller Alfie workshops this year, which I enjoyed very much as well. But this was the first big event that I'd been to since before COVID. And I think it was the same for many of my friends, schools and agents. And yes, there was a real buzz in the room, a real feeling of excitement. It was strange though, because it also felt as if we hadn't had this gap, as if it was just last week that we were seeing each other, and we were just sort of picking up where we left off. So it was a really, really lovely evening on the Friday. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know that June had a good time over the weekend, and she said there was a huge amount of optimism and energy, and it was just so good to talk to people. So although we all said during COVID that perhaps a lot of our face-to-face events could be replaced by virtual events, and I think there is a role in our industry for more virtual meetings and so on to avoid too much travel, I think you can't really replace the energy that you get from attending a live event and really seeing people. And so looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Okay, that brings us up to date with all the stories this week. At this point, we'll open up to the audience to see if there are any questions for our guests or the StudyTravel team. These can be on any of the stories or topics we have discussed. So whilst we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions, we've got a few backups. Oh, no, there is one. Hang on. It's for Jane, okay, and it's from Erin Göker. Turkey is in the top 4 of the source countries for the UK language market. Unfortunately, due to visa delays and refusals, many juniors and short-term adult enrolments are cancelled this summer, and visa problems are still affecting enrolments. Do English UK members receive similar visa delays and refusals from other non-EU markets, or is it particularly the Turkish market? He would like to know.
Hi, Erin, and thank you for your question. And yes, we're very well aware of this, and we're very sorry about it. So certainly the visa delays, that has been across all markets this year and has really hit us very badly, particularly with the juniors, because the juniors, we have a very short window of course opportunity, and all schools have had juniors who have not been able to attend purely because of the delays. Now, again, English UK is speaking to the Home Office about this. And since the war in Ukraine, and we've started dealing with a large number of Ukrainian refugees, the resources throughout the world used for processing English language visas for the UK have been diverted towards helping Ukrainian refugees, or at least that is what the Home Office has been telling us. So that's since February. It's unacceptable. I mean, it's been up to 8 weeks for some visas, not just in the language travel market, but also visitor visas, people just coming to the UK on holiday, relatives visiting and so on, have all been affected by this. So we hope that this will start easing soon, but this is really frustrating. Then in terms of the refusals, yes, we do get random and very, very annoying refusals from all different markets with frustrating reasons, such as you can study English in your own country. What we do with every single refusal is that we send them all to English UK. That's why it's so important that agents always send us a copy of the refusal, and then Nadia will take it up with the Home Office. So if they see a pattern, so for example, a large number from Turkey, then we have the evidence there to actually focus on it. So let's hope that it starts to get better, because it's so frustrating, and we appreciate you put all this work in to counselling a client and making sure that they choose the best possible course. They're all excited about coming over and they get this refusal. We've heard of very high profile clients, people from very good families or leading entrepreneurs or even politicians' children who have had refusals, and then of course they say, right, that's it, we're not coming to the UK ever again. So it's incredibly damaging as well for UK.
Thanks, Jane. And whilst we're on the subject, is English UK working on any other lobbying matters? Maybe something about the homestay issue. I don't know if that's something that English UK would be getting involved in, you know, some sort of mass marketing drive. Is there anything like that in the pipeline?
Well, the English UK is lobbying government on various issues and has been for a long time, such as those we've talked about today, you know, work rights for students and so on. And they are always working very, very hard behind the scenes. They're on a lot of committees with all, you know, different sectors. They work very closely with Visit Britain as well, on the Youth Mobility Scheme, for example. That's a joint initiative. The homestay at the moment is more something I think that the schools themselves need to be working on. But of course, if English UK can help in any way, that help would be very gratefully received. They are looking at the teacher shortage situation and how to reach out to people in schools, to go into sixth forms, etc., and to raise the profile of our industry here in the UK amongst the younger generation.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think we've got any more questions in the chat box, but we had another question for Brunella just about homestay shortage and whether or not any of your Italian students have been caught up in it, Brunella.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Sorry.
Have you had any of your student clients caught up with homestay or not being able to get accommodation for the duration of their studies?
Yes, I noticed a difficulty in from schools in finding family accommodations, but I haven't had any difficulty this year.
Good. I'm glad.
I'm glad too. That's good news, Brunella.
I mean, I understood there was that difficulty from schools. Some schools said, please do not ask family accommodation, and understood that there was an issue. Now you're speaking with Jane and the other schools. I've understood why, but particularly I had in one case, not the best accommodation, but it was an accommodation, a family accommodation.
Lovely. Okay, thank you, Brunella. Well, that looks like it's the end of our audience Q&A, which brings us to the end of this week's StudyTravel TV Live.
Our next episode will be on Wednesday, 21st of September at the same time of 4 p.m. BST. Visit the StudyTravel TV live page on the StudyTravel Network, which you can find under the magazines section in the menu, where we'll be announcing the guest speakers for the next broadcast, as well as a recording of this episode and past episodes.
So that's it for today. We'd like to say a big thank you to our special guests. Jane, thank you for your time and insights today, as always.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed coming on and chatting to everybody.
And Brunella, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. We look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye to everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again to our main sponsor this week, Londonist, and thank you to everyone for watching. Goodbye.